The storm did not rage, it devoured. Beneath a sky torn apart by black wind and lightning, cultivators and devils clashed in a battlefield where a single breath meant survival, and a single hesitation meant death. Blades split the heavens, ancient flames devoured the air, and monstrous powers long buried beneath time awakened once more. And at the heart of it all stood Han Li, calm, calculating, and already planning who would fall first. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, please consider supporting us through the donation PayPal. It really motivates us to keep creating. Han Li now found himself in the midst of winds as sharp as countless blades, a tempest that seemed intent on overturning both heaven and earth. Though this was said to be only a fraction of the Black Wind Flag's true might, it was already enough to drown his senses. All he could hear were shrill, ceaseless shrieks slicing through the air. His vision was swallowed whole by roiling yellow mist. Even his spiritual sense could not extend half a foot beyond his body. Between him and utter dismemberment stood nothing but a single trembling barrier. The Tri-Flame fan had been modeled after one of the weaker divine spirit treasures, yet it could still unleash nearly 40% of the Seven Flame fan's power. And even so, the force currently displayed by the Black Wind Flag existed on an entirely different plane. Fortunately, with his bright sight spirit eyes, Han Li could barely make out a hazy outline of the world within 30 meters around him. As for how the Nine Truths Devil Suppression Formation fared beneath this overwhelming assault, he had no way of knowing. He could only perceive violent tremors and the vague impression of a fierce struggle unfolding somewhere within the storm. When he raised his gaze toward the heavens, he saw nothing but chaotic winds colliding and tearing at one another, a frenzy so dense it blinded even him. The barrier protecting his body began to hum more violently, its resonance deepening into a strained vibration. Pain flickered across his face. It was demanding ever greater amounts of magic power to sustain. Worse still, the Black Wind Flag's might was not waning. It was steadily increasing. Han Li drew in a slow breath and glanced toward the ground below, a fleeting thought surfacing in his mind. Perhaps he could burrow underground to evade the storm. But no sooner had the idea taken root than a pillar of black wind as thick as a man's body erupted from beneath him, spiraling upward with relentless momentum. A terrifying suction force burst forth without warning. Han Li was instantly dragged toward its core. Alarmed, he hastily condensed the magic power within him. The light of his barrier flared brilliantly, resisting the pull with brute force and halting the absorption for now. In the next instant, more than a dozen streaks of golden swordlight shot out from within the barrier. They circled the wind pillar in a dazzling arc, shredding it into scattered strands of black chi. Yet before he could even exhale, the chi coiled back upon itself, condensing once more into a roaring tornado in the blink of an eye. A trace of frustration darkened his expression. Calling out to Silvermoon, he immediately retreated. These pillars of wind were truly insidious. Even hiding beneath the earth would offer no safety. After weaving carefully through several more rampaging tornadoes, the two of them finally reached the periphery of the storm. There, a dim grey barrier loomed faintly through the haze. As he had expected, the pressure here eased. The winds were noticeably weaker, granting them a brief and precious respite. Yet the gravity in Han Li's expression did not lessen. He glanced once toward the distant palace hall. A sharp glint flickered through his eyes. With a flick of his wrist, a foot-long golden blade shot forth, cleaving into the grey wall. A crackling burst rang out upon impact. A slash nearly a meter deep was carved into the surface. But in a flash of white light, the wound sealed itself as though time had reversed. The barrier did not appear particularly sturdy. His flying sword had cut it with ease. But its true thickness remained unknown, as did the limits of its regenerative power. If he could not break through in a single decisive strike, escape would be impossible. With that thought weighing heavily upon him, Han Li pressed a hand to his storage pouch. A flash of light later, the Tri-Flame fan rested in his grasp. As he carefully infused it with spiritual power, a radiant halo of tri-colored light blossomed across its surface. He inhaled deeply then, with a single measured motion, waved the fan toward the wall. A cloud of tri-colored flames surged forth, silent and magnificent. The grey barrier melted before them, leaving behind a gaping hole over a meter wide and more than 30 meters deep. And yet his expression darkened rather than brightened. Though the flames had carved deep into the wall, they soon dissipated. In the next instant, the damage healed completely, just as swiftly as before. He had not even unleashed the fan's full might, but the wall's thickness alone was enough to give him pause. Even if he used greater power, could he truly break through? If he fully activated the tri-flame fan, the spectacle would be impossible to conceal. The ancient monsters battling nearby would surely take notice. And if such a gamble still failed to breach the barrier, he would be left dangerously exposed. Worse yet, he suspected hidden restrictions lay dormant within the wall. Should he succeed in breaking through, only to trigger another lethal formation, he might as well resign himself to death here and now. With these thoughts weighing on him, Han Li slowly loosened his grip on the fan. His expression wavered. Silver Moon, who had remained somewhat dazed ever since glimpsing Long Mang, finally steadied herself. "This place is far from simple," she said quietly. "Master would do well not to take such risks." Han Li offered a faint smile and was about to respond when his expression suddenly sharpened. He turned abruptly toward the storm and said coldly, "How long do you intend to lurk there? Don't blame me if I strike without warning." As he spoke, his fingers tightened around the tri-flame fan. Light began to crawl across its surface like living flame. "Fellow Taoist Han, please wait. I am well aware of your fan's power. I have no desire to suffer such a blow without cause." A male voice emerged from the howling winds. Two white silhouettes stepped forth from the swirling yellow tempest. Grand Immortal Shu and Endless Sky Saintess Lin. Yin Ping. Han Li's brows lifted slightly, though he made no effort to hide his surprise. In an indifferent tone, he replied, "You expect me to believe you did not come here in pursuit of me?" As he spoke, he cast a casual glance toward the palace. There, storms and black tornadoes converged in a chaotic maelstrom. Amid the roaring winds, faint cracks of thunder resounded. Flashes of golden light pierced through the yellow haze from time to time. The Nine Truths Devil Suppression Formation was indeed worthy of its reputation. Even beneath the relentless assault of the Black Wind Flag, it endured. Whether the Eight-Spirit ruler had joined the fray remained unclear. Yet seeing that the black-robed woman was not paying attention to their direction, Han Li felt marginally reassured and refocused on the two before him. Anticipating his hostility, Lin Yinping calmly erected a soundproofing barrier. "There is no need for such tension," she said evenly. "We have not come to cause trouble, but to discuss survival." Han Li's heart stirred, though his face remained impassive. "And your proposal? Why ask what you already know?" Lin Yinping replied without hesitation. "That flag is not something any of us can contend with even together. While they are distracted, we should seize the chance to escape." Han Li narrowed his eyes. "So you have abandoned any thought of obtaining that divine spirit treasure?" Grand Immortal Shu snorted softly. "What value is a treasure without a life to wield it? The Elder Devil's sacred ancestor has been imprisoned within that pagoda for countless years. Even weakened, our nascent souls would serve as ideal nourishment to restore its strength. With a casual strike, it could capture us effortlessly. And your suggestion? We join forces, Grand Immortal Shu said bluntly. Ambush the Elder Devil guarding the teleportation formation, then flee. Just the three of us. Han Li scoffed lightly. Do you understand how formidable that two-headed Elder Devil truly is? Lin Yinping smiled faintly. Surely we would not be so inadequate. Han Li stroked the fan in his hand. In the past, 3 grand cultivators and over a dozen nascent soul cultivators hunted it. It still escaped. Does that inspire confidence? The same devil that fled from your heavenly south? Grand Immortal Shu asked sharply. That's correct. A flicker of hesitation passed between Shu and Lin Yinping. Then we shall join as well. That should suffice to drive it back. A cold voice descended from above. The three of them stiffened. Two streaks of light pierced the yellow storm, revealing the silver-winged night fiend and the lion hawk. Spiritual light enveloped the two demons, shielding them from the cutting winds. Their innate command over wind allowed them to move through the tempest as effortlessly as fish through water. "So it is you," Han Li said evenly. "You intend to join?" Of course, the night fiend replied without pretense. "Race is irrelevant to the elder devil's sacred ancestor. If we do not flee, we perish." Good Grand Immortal Shu said grimly, "With your aid, our chances improve greatly. There is no time to waste. Let us depart. Who knows how long the formation and the eight-spirit ruler can hold?" All eyes turned to Han Li. The alliance would not stand without his consent. He pressed his lips together in silent contemplation. At last he gave a slight nod. The two demons immediately descended to their side. Decision made, Han Li wasted no further time. Forming an incantation gesture, he summoned the life-soul tile within him. It trembled faintly, emitting a weak glow. Moments later, a flash of bright yellow light erupted beside him. Guiling emerged from the earth. When Guiling emerged from the earth, her expression did not change in the slightest at the sight of humans and demons gathered side by side. It was as though she had long expected such a scene. Yet when her gaze fell upon Han Li, her lips moved faintly, sending him a discreet voice transmission. For the briefest instant, a trace of surprise flickered across Han Li's otherwise tranquil face. Lin Yinping caught that fleeting change at once. "What is it?" she asked lightly. "Has fellow Taoist Gay discovered something?" "It is nothing," Han Li replied, composure already restored. The two fellow Taoists from the Immortal Form sect merely had the same thought as I did. They were considering an escape route from below. "Oh, is that so?" Lin Yinping responded with a faint enigmatic smile. It was clear she did not believe him, yet he showed not the slightest concern. Though suspicion lingered in the others' eyes as well, they all understood the fragility of their makeshift alliance. No one pressed the matter further. They swiftly turned to discussing their course of action. All of them were veterans of countless life-and-death battles. There was no need for lengthy deliberation. After only a few concise exchanges, their bodies shimmered with light and vanished into the storm. Han Li gave Guiling a slight nod. Without a word, she sank back into the earth, disappearing as though she had never been there. He then issued a quiet command. Silvermoon transformed into a small fox once more and darted into his sleeve. Alone again, Han Li turned his gaze toward the black teleportation formation. Stroking his chin thoughtfully, he suddenly slapped his storage pouch. A flash of silver light burst forth and a human-shaped puppet appeared before him. With a flick of his finger, silver radiance wrapped around the puppet's body, then gradually faded into a dull, unremarkable yellow. Its eyes flared with an eerie violet glow, then the figure dissolved into nothingness. This battle would determine life or death. He dared not hold back a single measure of strength. With the puppet concealed at his side, his confidence deepened slightly. Its concealment techniques were exquisite. Unless the elder devil was extraordinarily perceptive, it would not detect the puppet until it was far too late. As for the black-robed woman, she remained an unknown variable, a devil whose true capabilities he had yet to witness. Gripping the tri-flame fan tightly in one hand, Han Li formed an incantation with the other. Thunderstorm wings unfurled from his back in a crackle of silver lightning. In the next instant, he vanished. At the far edge of the perimeter, the teleportation formation floated in mid-air, now shrouded within a barrier of grey light. Above it hovered the two-headed elder devil, arms clasped casually behind his back. One head stared intently toward the palace, its gaze focused and calculating. The other swept the surroundings with wary vigilance. 4 arms held 4 treasures, a pair of violet rings, a blue halberd, and a scarlet brick. The savage winds unleashed by the black wind flag lashed mercilessly at everything in their path, yet they seemed to trouble him little. A strange expression crept over the face of the head watching the palace. Suddenly, a streak of golden light burst from the palace's center, cleaving through the dense mist with terrifying force. The shrieking winds faltered, if only for a heartbeat. The elder devil raised a brow, hesitation stirring within him. He considered going to offer aid, but conflicting thoughts restrained him. Before he could decide, the golden brilliance was devoured. A colossal black tornado over 30 meters wide swept across the sky like a dragon forged from storm and shadow. Space itself twisted along its path as though the world were bending beneath its will. A flicker of relief surfaced in the elder devil's eyes. It vanished almost instantly. His other head widened its eyes sharply. One arm snapped forward. A streak of crimson light tore through the air, expanding into a 10-meter-wide brick that crashed downward with crushing force. Scarlet flames erupted from its surface, and several vicious fire serpents lunged forth, fangs bared. A cold snort echoed through the wind. So vigilant. Two silhouettes emerged from the raging tempest. One of them raised a hand casually. A streak of blue light shot forth, unfolding into a 3-meter-tall jade umbrella. Explosions reverberated through the air. A veil of icy mist spread across the umbrella's surface, intercepting the descending firebrick. Blue radiance and scarlet flame clashed violently. Though the fire serpents writhed with ferocity, the umbrella's frigid aura suppressed them, rendering them helpless. Grand Immortal Shu and Lin Yin-ping hovered motionlessly in mid-air, gazes cold and unyielding. Both heads of the elder devil turned downward in unison. "I recognize you," one head rumbled, its voice like rolling thunder. "Cultivators of the soaring sky plains. A pity you will not be buried there." Grand Immortal Shu did not waste words. He slapped his storage pouch. A piercing phoenix cry rang out. Light exploded outward as a rainbow peacock materialized before them. The moment it appeared, it unfurled its magnificent wings, plumes shimmering in resplendent hues. Rainbow light cascaded from its body, parting the surrounding winds and carving out a tranquil space amidst chaos. "A keen spirit peacock," the elder devil exclaimed. "A relic of antiquity. But it is far too young. Were it older, perhaps I would feel fear." "Then test its rainbow light for yourself," Grand Immortal Shu replied coldly. At his whistle, the peacock lifted its head and spread its wings wide. Dazzling brilliance surged forth. The elder devil clapped the violet rings together. A deafening drone rippled outward, shaking one's spiritual sense. The rings shot into the air, blurring into countless afterimages that filled the sky with oppressive force. Black devilish chi erupted from his body as he formed an incantation. Grand Immortal Shu and Lin Yin-ping responded in kind. An azure sphere smashed downward. A silver-embroidered scarf released countless argent threads. At that very instant, purple and azure mist drifted silently above the elder devil, so subtle they betrayed no presence at all. The clash began. Rainbow light collided with the phantom rings, scattering radiant sparks. From the devilish chi, several black pythons condensed in an instant and lunged forward in retaliation. Then, a burst of blinding light exploded from the mist. Two figures descended like hunting eagles, talons gleaming grey threads, cascading like a net of death. At nearly the same heartbeat, the azure sphere and argent threads arrived before the elder devil. The ambush was timed with flawless precision. Though caught off guard, the elder devil recovered with terrifying speed. One black python coiled protectively around him, both heads lifted, eyes blazing. He vanished in a flare of black light. And yet, at the edge of the teleportation barrier, golden light flashed. Thunder roared. A colossal sword erupted from beneath the earth. Its speed was beyond reason. By the time the elder devil sensed it, the blade was already upon him. Purple flames and golden lightning writhed along its edge like living entities. Recognition flared in his eyes. With no time to evade, and his movements constrained by the other assaults, he tore through space with all four arms, unleashing a lattice of crystalline claw streaks. It was not enough. The great sword shredded through the claw net as though it were parchment. In that fleeting instant, the elder devil summoned a thick layer of devilish chi around himself. Explosions detonated. Blinding light swallowed the sky. Silver lightning crackled across the ground as Han Li emerged, gaze sharp as a drawn blade. The sword had struck, but it had not cleaved the devil in two. It was as though the blade had slipped past him at the last moment. Before Han Li could comprehend it, the light above churned violently. A piercing gust split the air. A black figure descended like a meteor, vanishing mid-flight and reappearing directly above Han Li. A thunderous roar shook the heavens as a massive pitch-black saber cleaved downward. Han Li's heart jolted, but the thunderstorm wings were already primed. He vanished. The saber struck empty ground. A dull boom followed, and a meter-deep fissure split the earth. 60 meters away, thunder rolled again. Han Li reappeared, eyes fixed on his former position. The elder devil stood there, but he was no longer unscathed. One arm had been severed to the stump. A fist-sized hole pierced his shoulder. Deep claw marks tore across his abdomen as though someone had attempted to rip him open. Even he could not withstand the combined assault without paying a price. When he saw Han Li standing unharmed in the distance, a malevolent gleam ignited in his eyes. With a flash of light, he wrenched his massive saber apart. It split into two slightly smaller glowing blades, each emitting a shrill, piercing whistle as they sliced through the air. With a savage sweep of his newly split sabers, the elder devil unleashed a dense storm of palm-sized black crescents toward Han Li. The air shrieked as the barrage surged forward in relentless waves. He paid no heed to the other cultivators. His killing intent was locked solely onto Han Li. This was hardly surprising. Of all those present, Han Li and Lin Yinping appeared the easiest targets. Yet Lin Yinping stood beside Grand Immortal Shu. By comparison, Han Li seemed isolated. Of course, this judgment stemmed from a fatal miscalculation. The elder devil had never truly witnessed Han Li at full strength. Facing the overwhelming assault, Han Li remained utterly calm. With a flick of his sleeve, a small shield shot forth, instantly expanding into a solid wall of protection before him. He cast a distant glance at the charging devil and let out a quiet sigh. That sigh gave the elder devil pause. Even across the distance, he caught the expression, and in that fleeting instant of confusion, he sensed an unusual spiritual fluctuation from below. Before he could even look down, slash! A yellow-cloaked figure burst from the earth 10 meters behind him. With a sharp cry, the horned woman Guiling swung down the massive silver axe in her grasp. She had remained hidden beneath the very spot where Han Li had stood moments before. Before the axe blade even descended, its crushing spiritual pressure sent tremors through the earth, gouging foot-deep fissures into the ground. The elder devil's expression darkened instantly. He abandoned his assault on Han Li and spun around, crossing his sabers in a flash. Two massive arcs of black light surged upward, colliding with the falling axe at the final moment. Black and silver radiance detonated upon impact. A violent shockwave, half freezing, half searing, exploded outward. For a single breath, the twin black blades halted the axe's descent. Then they shattered. That fleeting delay was all the elder devil required. Two of his hands formed an incantation. A grotesque cracking of bone echoed as his body swelled in size. His garments ripped apart, revealing sleek armor forged from foot-wide black scales that gleamed like polished obsidian. Thick, devilish chi swarmed over his wounds. Beneath it, flesh writhed and stitched itself whole. Suspended mid-air, his remaining head glinted ominously. He drew in a deep breath and exhaled. A vast shockwave roared from his mouth, slamming into the silver axe. The sound itself seemed to solidify, forming an invisible barrier that halted the weapon's descent. An ancient incantation rolled from his lips. The black scales across his body ignited, erupting into dense black-purple flames that coiled around him like infernal serpents. Guiling's heart trembled at the sight. She retreated instantly. With a thunderous roar, her body expanded violently. Green armor encased her form, and the silver axe grew alongside her, its edge blazing with blinding brilliance. She brought it down again with even greater force. Her sudden transformation startled the elder devil. Though he still towered above her, he was forced to interrupt his incantation and raise his sabers to meet the blow. Boom. The impact shook the heavens. Prepared this time, the elder devil endured the clash unscathed. Borrowing the momentum, he shot backward through the air. A mocking smile tugged at his lips. The azure halberd in one of his hands flared with black flames as he hurled it toward Guiling. It streaked forward like a falling star too fast for mortal sight. In a blink, it struck her armor, erupting in a flash. Even as he steadied himself, the elder devil resumed his incantation, preparing to unleash even greater techniques. That single strike would not be enough to finish the tenacious horned woman. But then, something entirely unforeseen occurred. 3 meters behind him, a faint black glimmer flickered into existence. An inch-long crystalline blade materialized soundlessly in the air. It vanished the next instant. A chilling premonition seized the elder devil's heart. He moved to escape. Too late. One of his heads felt as though a spike had been driven straight through it. Agony tore across his spiritual sense like a ripping storm. No matter how formidable he was, the surprise attack froze him in place. In that suspended heartbeat, a thin red line appeared across the neck of one head. Then it fell. The severed head tumbled through the air, blood erupting in a violent fountain from the mangled stump. Far below, Han Li stood, with hands locked in a strange incantation. His complexion was pale exhaustion clouding his features. The agony that had pierced the elder devil's mind came from Han Li's great development technique, a simplified soul-fright thorn. Though he had not cultivated the final layers of the technique, and its power was far inferior to the true soul-fright thorn, it was devastating when used in ambush. He privately named it the Spirit Stun Thorn. Weaker but sufficient. Even so, a single use left him reeling with dizziness. The elder devil's remaining head twisted in disbelief, then erupted into a howl of rage and pain. Devilish chi flooded outward, engulfing his body in a violent eruption. In a surge of black mist, he vanished. 16 meters away, a cloud of black chi convulsed. The maimed elder devil tumbled out. Though the loss of a head had not killed him, the injury was catastrophic. Guiling's axe strike, the beheading, the escape, all of it had transpired in the span of a breath. The surrounding cultivators were left utterly stunned. Their plan had been simple: distract the devil long enough to seize the teleportation formation and flee. The notion of killing him had never entered their minds. And yet now, it seemed possible. In truth, Han Li had intended to slay the devil from the beginning. As for the strange blade that severed the head, none of the cultivators above had sensed its emergence. The thought that such an attack could be turned against them sent a chill through their hearts. The elder devil's misfortune was absolute. Besieged on all sides, he had no opportunity to unleash his greater secret arts. Gravely injured and caught off guard, he was forced into a desperate struggle. Had he possessed even a moment to prepare, he would never have fallen into such a wretched state so swiftly. Casting a venomous glare at Han Li, the elder devil turned and fled toward the black-robed woman in a torrent of devilish chi. In his current condition, he had no desire to continue gambling with his life. But Han Li had other intentions. A faint sneer curved across his lips. A burst of silver light flared beside the fleeing devil. A silhouette appeared. Startled, the elder devil recoiled instantly, wrapping himself in boiling layers of devilish chi. Then he met her eyes. Purple eyes. The world around him dissolved. For a fleeting instant, nothing existed but that mesmerizing gaze. A bewitchment technique. With spiritual sense rivaling a peak late nascent soul cultivator, he tore himself free almost immediately. But not quickly enough. Thunder exploded. An emerald streak shot toward him like divine judgment, golden lightning writhing across its surface. Divine devilbane lightning. Had he been whole, he could have countered it. Now he dared not. He thrust a hand forward. Devilish chi condensed into a small black shield, intercepting the emerald streak as he blurred away, attempting to reappear 10 meters distant. But thunder cracked at his flank. Not good. Before he could react, silver lightning flashed. Han Li materialized beside him. With a sweep of his sleeve, dozens of small golden swords erupted forth, accompanied by a roaring purple flood dragon. The timing was flawless. There was no room to evade. Desperation twisted the elder devil's features. His remaining head contorted unnaturally to face Han Li. From his mouth burst a surging black shockwave. His arms blurred as twin black blades slashed outward to intercept the incoming assault. And then, at the very spot he had faced moments earlier, a small black dagger appeared. It flickered once and vanished. If you loved this story, please consider supporting us through the donation PayPal link below. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the best and most immersive video. We truly appreciate you being here with us.